What's up, everyone? You know that feeling when your entire future hangs on one single moment? When everything you've worked for comes down to one opportunity that could either make or break your career? Well, that's exactly where I found myself last Tuesday, and I'm still getting chills thinking about what happened next. So picture this. I'm standing in my tiny studio apartment at 5 in the morning, triple-checking my camera equipment for what felt like the 100th time. My hands were literally shaking as I packed my Sony camera, the one I'd saved up for 8 months to buy. This wasn't just any ordinary day, guys. This was the day. The day I'd been dreaming about since I started this channel 3 years ago, with 0 subscribers and a phone camera that barely worked. I had landed an interview with Marcus Chen. If you don't know who that is, he's basically the guy who went from eating ramen noodles in his college dorm to building a tech empire worth hundreds of millions. We're talking about someone who gets interviewed by major networks. Someone who usually charges $50,000 just for a speaking engagement. And somehow, through months of persistent emails and a stroke of pure luck, his team had agreed to give me 30 minutes of his time. 30 minutes that could change everything. 30 minutes that could take my channel from 20,000 subscribers to potentially millions. This wasn't just about views or money, though. This was about proving to myself, to my family, to everyone who said I was wasting my time chasing some impossible dream, that I could actually make it in this industry. You have to understand where I was coming from. 6 months earlier, I was working double shifts at a warehouse, coming home exhausted, editing videos until 3 in the morning, and watching my bank account get smaller every month. My parents kept asking when I was going to get a real job. My friends stopped inviting me out because I was always working on content. I was basically betting my entire future on this crazy idea that I could build something meaningful through storytelling. And Marcus Chen represented everything I wanted to achieve. He wasn't just successful. He was authentic. He shared his failures openly, talked about the times he wanted to quit, the moments when he had to choose between paying rent or investing in his business. His story resonated with millions of people because it felt real, not like those polished success stories you usually hear. So when his assistant called and confirmed the interview location, some fancy office building in Beverly Hills, I literally jumped up and down in my apartment like a kid on Christmas morning. My neighbor probably thought I'd lost my mind, but I didn't care. This was it. This was my shot. The night before, I couldn't sleep. I kept running through my questions, imagining how the conversation would flow, picturing the moment when I'd upload the video and watch the views climb. I'd researched everything about Marcus, read every interview he'd ever done, watched every speech, studied his body language, his speaking patterns, everything. I wanted to ask him things no one had ever asked before. But as I'm getting ready that morning, checking my appearance one more time in the mirror, I started feeling this weight in my chest. What if I messed this up? What if my questions were boring? What if the audio was bad or the lighting was off? What if Marcus realized halfway through that I was just some small creator who didn't deserve to be in the same room as him? I grabbed my camera bag, the one I'd bought specifically for this interview, and headed out into the Los Angeles morning. The sun was just starting to come up, painting the sky this beautiful orange color, and for a moment I felt like everything was going to be perfect. Like the universe was aligning to make this the best day of my life. I remember thinking as I walked to my car, this is the day everything changes. This is the day I stop being just another creator trying to make it and become someone who actually made it. I could already imagine calling my parents afterward, hearing the pride in their voices when I told them about the interview. But you know what they say about the best laid plans, right? Sometimes the universe has a completely different idea about how your story is supposed to unfold. And as I'm about to tell you, sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you turns out to be the best thing that ever happened. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let me tell you about the walk that changed everything, and why I'm sitting here today telling you this story with tears in my eyes. Not because of what went wrong, but because of what went incredibly, impossibly right. So there I am, driving through the streets of Beverly Hills, and I swear my heart is beating so loud I can hear it over the radio. I keep checking the time on my phone, 47 minutes until the interview. Plenty of time, right? I've got this whole routine planned out. Park the car, find a coffee shop nearby to calm my nerves, review my questions one last time, then walk into that building like I belong there. The GPS guides me to this massive glass building that looks like something out of a movie. I'm talking about the kind of place where million-dollar deals happen every day, where people in $1,000 suits make decisions that change entire industries. And here I am, this kid from a small town with a camera and a dream, about to walk into that world. I find a parking spot about 2 blocks away, and as I'm walking toward the building, I'm practicing my opening line under my breath. Mr. Chen, Thank you so much for this opportunity. I know your time is incredibly valuable. I must have said it 20 times, trying to get the tone just right. Confident but respectful, professional but genuine. The building is even more intimidating up close. There's this long set of concrete steps leading to the main entrance, and I can see people in business attire walking up and down, everyone looking like they know exactly where they belong. I adjust my camera bag on my shoulder, take a deep breath, and start climbing those steps. That's when I make the mistake of pulling out my phone to double-check the floor number. Marcus's office is on the 23rd floor, suite 2347. I'm scrolling through the confirmation email when my foot catches on something. At first, I think maybe I just stumbled a little, no big deal. But then I realize I'm falling, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Time slows down in that horrible way it does when something terrible is happening. I can feel my camera bag sliding off my shoulder, and I'm reaching for it, but gravity is faster than I am. The bag hits the concrete steps with this sickening thud, and then I hear it. The sound that still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. That unmistakable crack of expensive equipment breaking. I'm lying there on the steps, my knee scraped up, my shirt torn, and all I can think about is that sound. Please don't be the camera. Please don't be the camera. But even as I'm thinking it, I know. You know that feeling when you just know something terrible has happened before you even see it. That's exactly what this was. I scramble to my feet and unzip the camera bag with shaking hands. The first thing I see is the lens, completely shattered. Glass everywhere. The camera body looks like it went through a blender. The LCD screen is black with spider web cracks running across it. 3 years of saving, 8 months of eating nothing but pasta and peanut butter sandwiches to afford this camera, and it's destroyed. I'm standing there holding pieces of my camera, and I can feel people walking around me, probably thinking I'm some clumsy tourist who can't handle city life. But this isn't just about a broken camera. This is about my entire future crumbling in my hands. Without this camera, there's no interview. Without the interview, there's no breakthrough moment. Without the breakthrough, I'm back to that warehouse job, back to everyone saying I told you so. I start calling every camera rental place I can find on Google. Hi, I need a professional camera in the next 30 minutes. It's an emergency. But it's Friday afternoon, and everyone's either closed or completely booked. One guy actually laughs when I tell him the time frame. Buddy, he says, you should have called yesterday. I'm pacing back and forth on that sidewalk, my phone pressed to my ear, begging these rental places to help me out. I'm offering to pay double, triple the normal rate. I'm explaining about the interview, about how important this is. But nobody cares. Why would they? I'm just another desperate customer to them. 28 minutes until the interview. I'm starting to panic in a way I've never panicked before. You know that feeling when your chest gets tight and you can't quite catch your breath? When your mind starts racing through all the worst-case scenarios? That's where I was. I'm thinking about having to call Marcus's assistant and cancel. I'm thinking about the email I'll have to send to my subscribers explaining why I failed. I'm thinking about my parents asking what happened to my big opportunity. That's when I notice this girl sitting on the steps nearby. And something about the way she's looking at me makes me think maybe, just maybe, this day isn't over yet. But I had no idea that this complete stranger was about to save not just my interview, but my entire career. And what happened next still gives me goosebumps every single time I think about it. So I'm standing there on that sidewalk, holding the remains of my camera like it's a wounded animal, when I notice this girl sitting on the steps about 10 feet away. She's got this laptop balanced on her knees, wearing what looks like a coffee shop uniform. You know, one of those simple black polo shirts with a name tag. Nothing fancy, nothing that screams success or influence. Just a regular person taking what's probably her lunch break. But here's the thing that struck me immediately. While everyone else walking by is either staring at their phones or completely ignoring the guy having a breakdown on the sidewalk, she's actually looking at me. Not in a judgmental way, not like I'm some spectacle to gawk at, but with this expression that I can only describe as genuine concern. Like she actually cares that a complete stranger is clearly having the worst day of his life. I'm still on the phone with another camera rental place, getting the same, "Sorry, we're booked" response, when she closes her laptop and stands up. My first thought is that she's probably leaving because some crazy guy is disturbing her peaceful lunch break. But instead, she walks over to me. "Hey," she says, and her voice is soft but confident. "You look like you could use some help." I hang up the phone and look at her, probably with this desperate expression that makes me look completely pathetic. "Unless you happen to have a professional camera in your back pocket, I don't think anyone can help me right now," I say, trying to laugh, but it comes out more like a sob. She tilts her head slightly, studying my face, and I can see her processing what I just said. Actually, she says, and there's this pause that feels like it lasts forever. I might be able to help with that. I'm thinking she's going to offer to let me use her phone camera or something, which is sweet but completely useless for what I need. But then she reaches into this worn leather backpack she's carrying, and I watch in complete disbelief as she pulls out this gorgeous camera setup. We're talking about equipment that makes my broken camera look like a toy. "I'm Emma," she says, extending her hand like we're meeting at a networking event instead of me having a complete meltdown on a public sidewalk. "Photography student at UCLA. I was heading to class after my shift, but it looks like you need this more than I need to be on time." I'm staring at this camera, then at her, then back at the camera. "I can't possibly ask you to let me borrow that," I say. Because honestly, if someone had asked to borrow my camera from a stranger, I would have run in the opposite direction. That's probably worth more than my car. Emma laughs, and it's this genuine warm sound that somehow makes the panic in my chest ease up just a little bit. "You're not asking," she says. "I'm offering. But here's the thing. I don't just lend out my equipment to random people on the street. So if you want to use it, I'm coming with you." I must have looked confused because she continues, "Look, I don't know what kind of project you're working on, but you're clearly passionate about it. Passionate enough to have a breakdown when your equipment fails. That tells me it's important. And I'm always looking for real-world experience outside of classroom assignments. 22 minutes until the interview. I should be saying yes immediately, right? But something about this feels too good to be true. "You don't even know me," I say. "I could be anyone. I could be dangerous or crazy or just really bad at whatever I'm trying to do." Emma shrugs. "Could be. But you know what I see? I see someone who cares enough about their work to invest in good equipment. Someone who's organized enough to have backup plans, and someone who's humble enough to admit when they need help. Plus," she grins, "you're having a breakdown about missing an opportunity, not about losing money. That tells me this is about more than just business for you." And that's when it hits me. This complete stranger just read me better in 5 minutes than some people I've known for years. She saw past the panic and the desperation, and somehow identified what this really meant to me. Not just the career opportunity, but the validation. The proof that I wasn't crazy for chasing this dream. "I have an interview," I tell her, the words tumbling out, "with Marcus Chen. You probably don't know who that is, but he's this incredibly successful entrepreneur, and somehow I managed to get 30 minutes with him. And this was supposed to be my big break, the thing that changes everything for my channel." Emma's eyes widen slightly. "Marcus Chen? The guy who built TechFlow from nothing? I've watched every single one of his talks. He's brilliant. You know who he is? Are you kidding? I wrote my final paper last semester on his approach to authentic leadership. This is huge for you." She looks at her watch. "And we have about 20 minutes to make it happen, right?" The fact that she said "we" instead of "you" does something to my heart that I wasn't expecting. For the first time since my camera hit those concrete steps, I feel like maybe this day isn't completely ruined. Maybe there's still a chance. "Why are you doing this?" I ask her, because I genuinely don't understand. "You don't know me. You don't know if I'm any good at what I do. You don't know if this will lead anywhere. Why would you risk your equipment and your time for a complete stranger?" Emma looks at me for a long moment, and I can see her considering how to answer. "Because," she says finally, "6 months ago, I was sitting in a coffee shop crying over my laptop because I'd just gotten rejected from every internship I applied for. This older woman at the next table came over and told me about a photography program at UCLA that I'd never heard of. She didn't know me, didn't owe me anything, but she took 5 minutes to change my life. Sometimes we get chances to pay that forward. And right there, standing on that sidewalk with 18 minutes until the most important interview of my life, I realized that sometimes the universe doesn't just test you with obstacles. Sometimes it sends you exactly the person you need, exactly when you need them most. But I had no idea that this was just the beginning of something incredible. So we're rushing through the lobby of this massive building, and I'm trying to explain to Emma what kind of shots I usually go for, but she's already 3 steps ahead of me. She's looking at the lighting in the elevator, checking the camera settings, asking me questions about Marcus that show she's not just familiar with his work. She actually understands his message on a deeper level. "His whole thing is about authentic connection, right?" she says as we're riding up to the 23rd floor. "So we shouldn't make this look overly produced. Natural lighting, conversational angles, make the viewer feel like they're sitting in on a real discussion between friends." I'm nodding along, but honestly, I'm still in shock that this is actually happening. 15 minutes ago, I was ready to call and cancel the biggest opportunity of my life. And now I'm walking into that interview with someone who might actually be better at this than I am. We get to Marcus's office, and his assistant greets us with this professional smile. "You must be Jake," she says. "Mr. Chen is ready for you." Then she notices Emma setting up the camera and looks confused. "I wasn't aware you were bringing a crew." "This is Emma, my camera operator," I say, trying to sound like I have camera operators all the time instead of usually filming everything myself with a tripod. She's incredibly talented. Marcus comes out of his office, and immediately I can see why he's so successful. There's this energy about him, this presence that makes you want to listen to whatever he's about to say. He shakes my hand, then turns to Emma. "Great to meet you both. I have to say, I'm impressed by your setup. Very professional." Emma smiles and continues adjusting angles, and I realize she's positioning the camera in ways I never would have thought of. She's getting shots of Marcus's office, the view from his window, little details that will make the final video feel cinematic instead of just like a basic interview. We start rolling, and something magical happens. Maybe it's because Emma's presence takes some pressure off me, or maybe it's because her camera work is so smooth that Marcus relaxes. But the conversation flows like we've known each other for years. Marcus starts talking about his early failures, the times he wanted to quit, the moment he realized that success isn't about avoiding mistakes, but about learning from them faster than your competition. But here's what's incredible. Emma isn't just standing behind the camera like a statue. She's moving around us, capturing reaction shots, getting close-ups during emotional moments, pulling back for wide shots when Marcus is making big gestures. It's like she can predict what's going to happen next in our conversation. At one point, Marcus is telling this story about sleeping in his car because he couldn't afford rent while building his first company, and I see Emma zoom in on his hands as he's talking. Later, when he's describing the moment his first big client said yes, she captures this shot of his face lighting up that gives me actual chills. "You know what I love about this generation?" Marcus says, looking directly into the camera. "You're not afraid to be vulnerable. You're not pretending you have it all figured out. That authenticity is what people are craving right now." And as he's saying this, I'm thinking about Emma, about how she helped me without knowing anything about what she might get in return. About how that kind of genuine kindness is exactly what Marcus is talking about. The interview is supposed to last 30 minutes, but we end up talking for almost an hour. Marcus is so engaged, so present, that I forget to be nervous. We're discussing everything from entrepreneurship to mental health, to the importance of building real relationships in a digital world. When we finally wrap up, Marcus turns to Emma. "I have to ask, where did you learn to work a camera like that? That was some of the most intuitive filming I've experienced, and I've been interviewed by major networks." Emma blushes slightly. "Just a student at UCLA, but I've been passionate about visual storytelling since I was a kid. There's something about capturing authentic moments that really speaks to me." Marcus nods thoughtfully. "What's your long-term goal? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Before I tell you what happened next, if you're enjoying this story, I need you to do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now because this gets even more incredible. Smash the like button if you believe in the power of helping strangers. Drop a comment below and tell me about a time when someone's kindness changed your day. And please, share this video with someone who needs to hear that good things happen to good people, because what Marcus said next literally changed both of our lives forever." Emma thinks for a moment before answering. "Honestly, I want to create content that matters. Not just pretty visuals, but stories that inspire people to be better, to help each other, to chase their dreams even when it seems impossible." Marcus gets this look in his eyes, the same look I imagine he had when he first envisioned his company. "That's interesting," he says, "because I've been looking for someone to head up a new division of my company, someone with fresh perspective and real talent." I'm standing there thinking this is just polite conversation, but the way Marcus is looking at Emma, I'm starting to realize he might be serious. And that's when everything I thought I knew about this day completely changed. The room goes completely silent for what feels like an eternity. I'm looking at Marcus, then at Emma, then back at Marcus, trying to process what just happened. Did he really just offer Emma a job? Like, an actual job at his company? The same company that I've been dreaming about collaborating with for months? Emma's face goes through this incredible range of emotions: surprise, confusion, excitement, and then something I didn't expect: caution. Most people would have jumped at an opportunity like this immediately, but Emma just stands there, camera still in her hands, processing what Marcus just said. "I'm sorry," she says finally, "but are you being serious right now? Because if this is just polite conversation, that's totally fine. But I don't want to misunderstand what's happening here. Marcus laughs, and it's this genuine warm sound that fills the entire office. I'm completely serious. Look, I've been interviewed hundreds of times. I've worked with production crews from major networks, independent filmmakers, content creators with millions of followers. But what you just did in there, the way you anticipated moments, captured emotions, told a story through your camera work, that's not something you can teach. That's instinct. I'm standing there watching this conversation unfold, and I'm experiencing this weird mix of emotions. Part of me is incredibly happy for Emma because she clearly deserves this opportunity. But there's also this small, selfish part of me that's thinking, wait, what about me? This was supposed to be my big break, my moment to impress Marcus Chen. But then Marcus turns to me, and I can see he's not done talking. Jake, that interview was exceptional. Your questions, your approach, the way you made me feel comfortable enough to share stories I don't usually tell. That's rare. I've been thinking about expanding into content creation, specifically around entrepreneurship and authentic leadership. I think you two would make an incredible team. Now I'm the one who's confused. I'm sorry, what do you mean by team? Marcus walks over to his desk and pulls out this folder. I've been developing a concept for a content series. Real conversations with entrepreneurs, but not the polished corporate stuff you usually see. Raw, honest discussions about failure, mental health, the real cost of building something from nothing. The kind of content that actually helps people instead of just inspiring them. He hands the folder to Emma, but gestures for me to look at it too. Inside are detailed plans, budget projections, distribution strategies. This isn't just some vague idea. This is a fully developed business plan. Emma, Marcus continues, I want you to head up the creative direction. You'd be responsible for the visual storytelling, the production quality, building a team of creators who share your vision. And Jake, I want you to be the primary host and interviewer. Your ability to connect with people, to ask the right questions at the right time, that's exactly what this project needs. I'm staring at these documents, and my hands are actually shaking. 6 months ago, I was working in a warehouse, editing videos on my phone during my lunch breaks. 3 hours ago, I was having a breakdown on a sidewalk because my camera was broken. And now Marcus Chen is offering me the opportunity to host a content series for his company? But here's what really gets me. Emma isn't jumping at this opportunity either. She's asking questions, smart questions. What kind of creative freedom would we have? How would you measure success? What happens if our vision doesn't align with the company's goals? Would we own any of the content we create? Marcus nods approvingly at each question. Those are exactly the kinds of questions I want someone asking. Look, I didn't build this company by micromanaging talented people. If I hire you, it's because I trust your judgment. You'd have complete creative control, as long as the content aligns with our core values of authenticity and helping people. Emma looks at me, and I can see she's trying to gauge my reaction. Jake, what do you think? This is your interview, your opportunity. I don't want to step on anything you've been working toward. And that's when I realize something incredible about Emma. Even in this moment when she's being offered her dream job, she's thinking about how it affects me. She's making sure I'm comfortable with the partnership before she even considers accepting. Are you kidding? I say, and I can hear the emotion in my own voice. Emma, you saved my entire career today. Without you, there would be no interview, no opportunity, nothing. If Marcus thinks we'd work well together, then I can't think of anything I'd rather do. Marcus smiles. Perfect. Because I have to tell you both. Watching you two work together today, seeing how naturally you collaborated without even knowing each other, that convinced me this could be something special. Emma, your technical skills combined with your eye for storytelling, and Jake, your ability to create genuine connections with people. That's a combination that could change how people think about business content. Emma takes a deep breath. Can I ask for some time to think about it? This is incredible, and I'm honored, but it's also a huge decision. I'd want to finish my semester at UCLA, and I'd need to understand more about the role, the expectations, the timeline. Of course, Marcus says. Take all the time you need, but I hope you'll seriously consider it. I think you could build something really meaningful here. As we're packing up the camera equipment, I keep looking at Emma, trying to understand what just happened. This morning, she was a complete stranger sitting on some steps. Now, she might be my business partner in the biggest opportunity of my life. Emma, I say as we're waiting for the elevator, I need you to know something. What you did today, helping me when you had absolutely no reason to, that changed everything. Not just because of this opportunity, but because you reminded me that there are still people in the world who help others without expecting anything in return. She looks at me with this expression I can't quite read. Jake, can I tell you something? I almost didn't help you today. I saw you on those steps, and my first instinct was to mind my own business. But then I thought about that woman in the coffee shop, the one who helped me, and I realized that maybe the whole point of getting help is learning how to give it. And right there, in that elevator, I understood that this day wasn't just about a broken camera or a job opportunity, or even meeting Marcus Chen. It was about discovering that sometimes the most important connections we make happen in the most unexpected moments. But what happened next would prove that this was just the beginning of something incredible. 3 days later, Emma calls me. I'm sitting in my apartment, still trying to process everything that happened, when my phone rings with a number I don't recognize. When I answer, I hear her voice, and there's this excitement in it that I've never heard before. Jake, I said yes, she says, and I can practically hear her smiling through the phone. I talked to my professors, my family, everyone I trust, and they all said the same thing. Opportunities like this don't come around twice. Marcus wants to meet with both of us next week to start planning. I'm sitting there holding the phone, and suddenly this whole thing becomes real in a way it wasn't before. Emma, are you sure about this? I mean, working with someone you barely know, taking on this huge responsibility? That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about, she says. I know we don't really know each other yet, but I have this feeling that we could create something really special together. The way we worked during that interview, it felt natural, like we've been collaborating for years instead of hours. She's right, and I know it. There was something about the way we moved around each other during the interview, the way she seemed to know exactly what shots I needed before I even asked for them. It was like we had this unspoken understanding about what we were trying to create. But here's what I really want to tell you, Emma continues. Marcus offered me the position, but I told him I wouldn't take it unless you were my equal partner in this. Not just the host, but co-creator. I want us to build this together, 50-50. I'm quiet for so long that Emma asks if I'm still there. The truth is, I'm trying not to cry. 6 months ago, I was completely alone in this dream. No collaborators, no partners, just me and my camera trying to figure out how to make something meaningful. And now this person, who I met during the worst moment of my career, is offering to share the biggest opportunity either of us has ever had. Emma, you don't have to do that, I say finally. This is your opportunity. You earned it. No, she says firmly. We earned it. Together. That interview happened because both of us were there. Your questions, my camera work, our combined energy. That's what impressed Marcus. I'm not interested in building something alone when I could build something better with someone I trust. The word trust hits me hard. She trusts me, and we've known each other for 3 days. But somehow, that trust feels more solid than relationships I've had for years. Our first official meeting with Marcus happens the following Monday. Emma and I spend the weekend before it just talking about our visions for the project, our fears, our hopes. We discover that we both want to create content that actually helps people, not just entertains them. We both believe that the most powerful stories come from moments of vulnerability and authenticity. When we walk into Marcus's office that Monday, we're not just two people who happen to meet during a crisis. We're partners with a shared vision. Marcus presents us with the full scope of what he's imagining. A monthly series featuring conversations with entrepreneurs at different stages of their journeys. Not just the success stories, but the people who failed and started over. The ones who are still struggling. The ones who found success but lost themselves in the process. I want this to be the kind of content that someone watches when they're sitting in their car outside their day job, wondering if they should quit to chase their dream, Marcus says. I want it to be honest enough that people feel less alone in their struggles. Emma and I look at each other, and I can see that we're thinking the same thing. This isn't just about creating content. This is about creating something that could genuinely impact people's lives. Over the next month, we throw ourselves into pre-production. Emma builds a team of creators who share our vision. I develop interview techniques that help people feel safe enough to be vulnerable on camera. We test different formats, experiment with storytelling approaches, refine our process until everything feels natural and authentic. But the real magic happens during our first official shoot. We're interviewing Sarah, a woman who lost her restaurant during the pandemic and is now rebuilding from scratch. As she's telling her story, I watch Emma work behind the camera, and I realize something incredible is happening. Emma isn't just filming an interview. She's capturing the essence of human resilience. When Sarah talks about the night she had to close her restaurant, Emma zooms in on her hands as they fidget with her wedding ring. When Sarah describes her first day at her new location, Emma pulls back to show her whole face lighting up with hope. After we wrap, Sarah comes up to us with tears in her eyes. "I've never felt so heard," she says. "You made me feel like my story actually matters." That night, Emma and I are editing the footage, and we both know we've created something special. This isn't just good content. This is the kind of story that could change how someone thinks about their own struggles. "Jake," Emma says as we're finishing up, "do you ever think about that day on the steps? About how different everything would be if your camera hadn't broken?" I think about it for a moment. Honestly, I think it was supposed to happen exactly the way it did. Not because I believe in fate or anything, but because sometimes the best things come from the worst moments. If my camera hadn't broken, I never would have met you. And this, I gesture at the screen showing Sarah's story. This never would have existed. Emma nods. I keep thinking about what that woman in the coffee shop told me about paying kindness forward. I helped you because someone helped me. And now we're creating content that might help thousands of other people. It's like this chain of good things that just keeps growing. And that's when I realized that our story wasn't really about a broken camera or a job opportunity. It was about discovering that the most powerful thing you can do is help someone else succeed, because their success becomes part of your success. And together, you can create something bigger than either of you could build alone. But I had no idea that our little content series was about to reach millions of people and change both our lives in ways we never imagined. 6 months after that first interview with Sarah, I'm sitting in what used to be a small conference room but is now our official studio space, watching the view counter on our latest episode climb past 2 million views. 2 million people have watched our conversation with David, a veteran who started a nonprofit after struggling with his own transition back to civilian life. 2 million people heard his story about finding purpose through helping others. But the numbers aren't what's getting to me. It's the comments. Thousands of them. People sharing their own stories, thanking David for his honesty, telling us how his words gave them permission to ask for help when they needed it. There's one comment from a woman named Lisa that I keep reading over and over. "I was planning to give up on my business today. After watching this, I'm going to try one more time. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone." Emma walks over and sees me staring at the screen. "You're reading the comments again, aren't you?" she says, settling into the chair next to me. "You know that's dangerous. You'll be here all night." "Look at this one," I say, pointing to Lisa's comment. "We might have just saved someone's business, someone's dream. How is that even possible?" Emma reads the comment and gets that same expression she always gets when she realizes we've actually impacted someone's life. It's this mix of amazement and responsibility. Like she can't quite believe we have this kind of influence. But she's determined to use it well. "You know what I think about when I see comments like that?" she says. "I think about you on those steps 6 months ago, convinced your career was over because of a broken camera. If someone had told you then that you'd be helping thousands of people pursue their dreams, would you have believed them?" I laugh. But it's one of those laughs that's close to crying. Are you kidding? 6 months ago, I thought success meant getting enough subscribers to quit my warehouse job. I never imagined we could build something that actually changes people's lives. The truth is, our series has become something neither of us expected. What started as monthly interviews has evolved into this community of entrepreneurs, dreamers, and people who refuse to give up on themselves. We get emails every day from viewers who've started businesses, changed careers, or simply found the courage to keep going during difficult times. Marcus stops by our studio at least once a week, and every time he has this look of amazement on his face. Last week he told us that our series has generated more positive engagement for his company than anything they've ever produced. But more importantly, it's attracted the kind of clients and partners who share our values of authenticity and genuine impact. "I have to be honest with you both," he said during our last meeting. "When I offered Emma that job, I thought I was hiring a talented camera operator. When I suggested you partner with her, Jake, I thought I was getting a good interviewer. I had no idea I was bringing together two people who would completely redefine what business content could be. But the real validation comes from the people we interview. Last month, we had coffee with Michael, an entrepreneur we featured 3 months earlier. His episode had focused on his struggle with anxiety and how it affected his ability to lead his team. After it aired, he received hundreds of messages from other business owners dealing with similar challenges. "You gave me permission to be human," he told us. "For years I thought I had to pretend I had everything figured out. Your interview showed me that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's what allows people to connect with you authentically." Michael's company has grown by 40% since our interview aired, and he credits much of that growth to the authentic relationships he's built with clients and employees after learning to be more open about his struggles. Emma and I have developed this rhythm, where we spend our mornings planning future episodes and our afternoons responding to the community that's grown around our content. We've started hosting monthly virtual meetups where viewers can connect with each other, share their own stories, and support each other's journeys. Sometimes I feel like we accidentally created something bigger than ourselves, Emma tells me one evening, as we're reviewing footage from our latest interview. Like we tapped into this need people have to feel understood and supported in their struggles. She's right. What we've built isn't just a content series. It's become a movement of people who believe that success is more meaningful when it's shared, that vulnerability is a strength, and that helping others succeed is the fastest way to find your own success. But here's what really gets me emotional when I think about our journey. Emma and I have become genuine friends. Not just business partners, but people who trust each other completely, who challenge each other to be better, who celebrate each other's wins and support each other through difficulties. You know what's funny? I tell her as we're wrapping up for the day. That morning when my camera broke, I thought I was losing everything. I thought that broken camera was the end of my dreams, but it was actually the beginning of something I never could have imagined. Emma smiles. I think about that woman in the coffee shop sometimes, the one who told me about the UCLA program. She probably has no idea that her 5 minutes of kindness led to all of this. That's what I love about helping people. You never know how far the ripple effects will reach. And that's when it hits me. Our story isn't really about business success or content creation or even following your dreams. It's about the incredible things that happen when people choose to help each other without expecting anything in return. It's about how one moment of genuine kindness can create a chain reaction that touches thousands of lives. Emma helped me when my camera broke, not because she thought it would lead to a job opportunity, but because she saw someone who needed help and she had the ability to provide it. That single act of kindness has now reached millions of people through our content, inspired countless entrepreneurs to keep pursuing their dreams, and created a community of people supporting each other's success. But what happened next would prove that our impact was just getting started, and that sometimes the most important stories are the ones that inspire other people to write their own. 1 year later, I'm standing in front of 500 people at the UCLA campus where Emma used to study, and I can barely believe the words coming out of my mouth. The broken camera that I thought would end my career actually led to the most meaningful work of my life, I tell the audience of students and aspiring entrepreneurs. But the real lesson isn't about cameras or opportunities. It's about the incredible power of helping someone without expecting anything in return. Emma is sitting in the front row, and when I look at her, I can see she's trying not to cry. Next to her is Marcus, who's been promoted to Chief Innovation Officer, partly because of the success of our content series. But the person who really gets me emotional is sitting 3 seats down. It's Sarah, the restaurant owner from our very first episode. Her new location is thriving, and she's become one of our most active community members, mentoring other entrepreneurs who are rebuilding after setbacks. Emma and I receive thousands of messages from people who've started businesses, changed careers, or simply found the courage to keep going after watching our interviews, I continue. But what moves me most are the stories about people helping each other. Viewers who've become business partners, mentors who've found mentees, complete strangers who've supported each other through difficult times. After my talk, a young woman approaches me. She's probably around 20 with that same nervous energy I remember having when I was starting out. I wanted to thank you, she says. 6 months ago, I watched your episode with the woman who lost her restaurant. I was about to drop out of business school because I didn't think I was cut out for entrepreneurship. But hearing her story made me realize that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. She tells me that she's now running a small tutoring business that's helping pay for her education, and she's planning to expand it after graduation. But here's the thing, she says. Last week, I helped another student who was struggling with the same doubts I had. I told her about your show, about Sarah's story, and now she's starting her own venture too. And there it is again, that ripple effect Emma talked about. One act of kindness leading to another, creating this endless chain of people helping people. Emma joins us, and the student thanks her too. Your camera work makes people feel so comfortable, she says. You capture these moments that make viewers feel like they're part of the conversation, not just watching it. After the student leaves, Emma and I walk across the campus where she used to study. Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if you hadn't tripped on those steps? She asks. All the time, I say. But you know what I think about more? How many people we never would have helped? How many stories never would have been told? How many connections never would have been made? Our series has now reached over 50 million people across all platforms. We've interviewed everyone from tech entrepreneurs to social activists to artists who've built sustainable creative careers. But the episodes that perform best are always the ones where people share their failures, their struggles, their moments of doubt. It turns out that vulnerability really is what connects us all. Emma has been promoted to creative director of Marcus's entire media division, and she's building a team of creators who share our vision of authentic storytelling. I've been offered hosting opportunities with major networks, but I keep turning them down because nothing feels as meaningful as what we've built together. You know what I realized? Emma says as we're sitting on the same steps where she used to study. That day I helped you wasn't really about the camera or the interview. It was about recognizing that we're all just trying to figure things out, and sometimes the best thing we can do is help each other along the way. She pulls out her phone and shows me a photo. It's her original camera, the one she used to save my interview with Marcus. She's had it framed and it sits in her office now, with a small plaque that reads, "Sometimes helping someone else is the best investment you can make." I keep it there to remind myself that the most important opportunities often come disguised as chances to help other people, she says. As we're walking back to our car, I get a text from Marcus. He's forwarding an email from a viewer in Australia who started a non-profit after watching our episode about social entrepreneurship. The non-profit has already helped over 1,000 people find employment after periods of homelessness. Emma, I say, showing her the message. Do you realize that your decision to help a stranger on some steps in Beverly Hills has now impacted people on the other side of the world? She reads the message and gets that expression again, the one that says she's amazed by the responsibility and honored to have it. That's the thing about kindness, she says. You never know how far it will travel or whose life it will change. If this story has inspired you in any way, I need you to do something for me right now. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because we share stories like this every week. Real stories about real people making a difference. Hit that like button to help more people find this message. Most importantly, drop a comment below and tell me about a time when someone's kindness changed your life, or when you had the chance to help someone else. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that good things happen to good people, because your share might be exactly what someone needs to see today. The truth is, Emma and I are just two people who met during a crisis and decided to help each other succeed. But that simple decision has created something bigger than either of us could have built alone. And I believe that's available to all of us. The chance to change someone's life simply by choosing to help when we have the opportunity. Sometimes the most successful thing you can do is help someone else succeed. Sometimes the best camera angle is the one that captures human kindness. And sometimes the most important story you'll ever tell is the one that inspires someone else to write their own. Thanks for watching, and remember, you never know when your moment to help someone might come, but when it does, I hope you'll choose kindness. I'll see you in the next video.